What if motivation isn't the thing that's missing from your life? We constantly say, I need to get motivated. I'm just not feeling it. I'll start Monday. Once things have settled down, I need to get my head back in the game. But what if motivation is a terrible foundation for changing your life? Motivation is a feeling. Feelings change. Discipline, however, is a decision. The people who constantly achieve things aren't necessarily more motivated than everyone else. They've simply learned to act when they aren't motivated. Motivation is overrated. Let's think about it. Going to the gym when you're buzzing versus going to the gym when you're exhausted. I've always said that if you can get to the gym on the days that you don't want to be there, it makes the days that you do so much easier. Eating well when you've got a goal versus eating well when nobody's watching. How often do we do things because there's an audience there? How often do we do things when nobody's watching? Do we keep up that same image in private that we do in public? Working on something when you're inspired versus working on it when it's boring. Can you do the boring things because you genuinely enjoy whatever it is that you're doing? Or do you do it just for the result? Recording a podcast when you've got loads to say versus sitting down when you've got absolutely nothing. I've been there. I've done it. I've done podcasts when I don't want to, but I've got to get an episode out. If I don't record an episode, there's not going to be one going live on Sunday. This is what's happened this week. I've had a long week. I'm tired. It's now Friday. This episode will be going out on Sunday. Do I necessarily want to be sat here recording on a Friday night? Not really, but I do love doing this. That is why I do it. Yes, are parts of it boring? I hate editing. Can't stand it. I hate scheduling all the content, but guess what? It's got to be done. And it is all done in the behind the scenes. You don't see all that stuff. All you see is the end finished product, not the countless hours of prepping for episodes, setting up the set, and doing all the rest of it, editing, scheduling. It all takes time. And the amount of people that I've spoke to that have said, oh, I'd love to start a podcast. They don't realize how much work goes into the behind things, because this part is maybe half an hour to an hour a week of recording, maybe longer if I've got a guest on. But when it comes to everything behind it, you're talking 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 hours of extra work on top of that to do all the rest of it. People love the idea of being able to sit and do a podcast, but don't realize how much work it comes with. Motivation can be great to get you started, but it's discipline that keeps you going. Sometimes you don't need motivation to start either, to be quite honest. You can just start badly. Quite a lot of people tend to wait for the perfect moment to start. The perfect moment's never going to come. Just get started. And with doing the reps, you will get better over time. Don't go into something expecting to be an expert, because guess what? It's just not going to happen, like at all. Sometimes you've just got to put your trainers on, walk for 10 minutes, go to the gym, do one set, write 100 words if you're looking to start maybe a Substack or maybe even a book. Record the first 5 minutes of a podcast, see how you get on. I'm 130 episodes deep now. If you go back to the first lot of episodes, completely different level in terms of quality, in terms of how I articulate words and sentences and put everything together. There's so many ums and ahs back in the day, and quite a lot of those are cut out now at this point. Whereas if you go back to the very start, you will see a completely different version of the Big Lad podcast. But it's through hours and hours of repetition and just starting, because I could have waited for the perfect moment. I could have, gone to maybe a language coach or just practice without posting. But without doing those reps that I've done, I probably would have been nowhere near where I am today if I'd have not just posted them in the first place. Sometimes you just go for the run even though you're not feeling great. The amount of times I've gone to the gym, I put a post up about this the other week, where I have gone in a not a great mood. I've never came out of the gym in a worse mood than I went in. Never. So sometimes you've just got to force yourself a little bit. And I also said in that video that I put up that there is a difference between physical tiredness and mental tiredness. And without knowing when you're at the limit of either, it's quite difficult. Whereas if you've pushed too far one way or the other, you get a gauge of what your body and mind can actually take on. Quite a lot of the time, me personally, I'm not physically tired, I'm mentally tired, because I have a 9 to 5, I've got the podcast, I've got the hiking group, I've got my online coaching. There's a lot that goes on in my brain just throughout an ordinary day. And quite often I'll find that I can't be bothered going to the gym. But when I force myself to go, I will always come out in a better mood. It clears the day, clears my head, and yeah, it just puts me in a better mindset for actually just going to bed in a better mood. So often the motivation comes after the action, not before it. Once you get going, you get that bug, you see the progress, and then the discipline keeps you in that. And it all works sort of intertwining in a way. What's most important is to not get caught in the trap of I'll do it when I feel like it, because that feeling may never come. We can't rely on feelings. They come and go. Discipline is what keeps you on track behind all of that. It tells you, look, I'm going to do this regardless of how I feel. Motivation, yeah, can get you started, get you there when you feel like it. Discipline is what gets you there when you don't want to be there. If you're getting caught up in that trap of like, I'll do it when I feel like it, we expect ourselves to want to do difficult things. And you've got to have a certain type of mindset to do difficult things in general, especially when you don't want to do them. But the thing is, difficult things are difficult precisely because we don't always want to do them. I've had the conversation quite a bit with people online. I've got sent recently by a friend. She was asking about some resistance bands. There was someone trying to sell them. And they said, if I buy these, will it work? And my response was as simple as, go to the gym. And they said, well, will they work or not? And I was like, the magic you're looking for is in the work that you're avoiding. Just go to the gym. You want to get fitter and healthier. Doing some little weird resistance band workout at home isn't going to get you to where you want to be. Do the thing that you don't want to do. Do the thing that you're avoiding. The question that you've got to ask yourself is, what if the version of you that you want to become doesn't always feel like doing the things required to become him or her? Everybody wants the body, the career, the money, the confidence, the relationship, the adventure, the business, the podcast, the lifestyle. But nobody wants the boring Tuesday afternoon version of work that's required to get there. I've said it time and time again. This generation is so hung up on wanting instant results. And unfortunately, that's just not the way life works. The things that we want are difficult and hard to get because they are worth getting. Anything worth wanting or getting is hard to get purely because we want it, and difficult things need to be done. The issue is these days that the generation that I grew up in and the generations after me especially have grew up in this sort of instant world where you can get an Amazon delivery same day. In some instances, you can get food to your door within 20 or 30 minutes. Everything is straight away. You've got your phone and you've got access to the world. You can FaceTime someone on the other side of the planet. Now, your parents' generation didn't even grow up with this technology. So the thought of someone who's now 50, being 20, being able to literally pick up their phone and see someone that's on the other side of the world on a device in their hand would have been absolutely crazy. But you can do it now in an instant and without a lag or anything like that. I remember growing up with, like the dial-up internet where you couldn't be on the phone and the internet at the same time. That was towards the very start of me actually using computers. Then obviously all Wi-Fi and everything came in, showing my age a little bit. We've got to get out this mindset that absolutely everything in life can be instant, because when it comes to things that are worth having in terms of your health, looking a certain way, building a business, building brands, building just a lifestyle, it takes work, it takes effort. It's not going to happen overnight. So if you're doing something purely for the result at the end of it, you're going to be very disheartened when those results don't happen. And quite often you will end up quitting because of that, because you're so hung up on the result. You're only doing it for the result. You're not doing it for the person that you become along the way. You might want, 6 figures or 6-pack abs, either or. There's going to take a lot of work to do. But if you actually start working towards it, instead of getting 100 grand a year, you've got 70. You're closer than you were before, and you've become a better person along that journey. Same with if you want a 6-pack. You may have been overweight. You're now not overweight. You've not quite got the 6-pack abs, but you're in a better shape than you were previously. And that's really all that matters. You keep showing up, you keep working and chipping away and getting close to that goal. It's not about the goal. It's about the journey. As cringe as that sounds, it is about the journey and who you become along the way towards the goal. Discipline doesn't mean that I must suffer constantly. It's more of I don't allow my current mood to make every decision for my future. It's staying on track and getting the things done towards the goals that you have. You can still have, a takeaway, have a beer, miss the gym every now and again, have a lazy Sunday, go on holiday, have periods when you're doing less. The problem isn't one bad decision. It's when one bad decision becomes, well, I've just ruined it now, so I'll start again on Monday. We're human at the end of the day. Discipline and consistency isn't a straight line of 100% achieved every single day. The issue is when it becomes 30% for a couple of days on the run. I've always said, even in the gym, 70 to 80%, you can go for a very long time without getting tired. It's not about doing 100% every single day. It's when 3 days becomes 3 weeks, when you're out of that loop. James Clear's got a great way of putting this, which is missing once is an accident, missing twice is the start of a new habit. And it's exactly that. It's not about throwing your toys out the pram because you've messed up one day. It's about getting back on track the next day. You can still have fun and be disciplined at the same time. It doesn't mean you've got to cut yourself off from all social situations. You can still go and enjoy yourself, just maybe with a bit more control. Your identity controls more than your goals. So instead of, I want to lose weight, think, I'm someone who looks after themselves. Instead of, I want to get fit, I'm someone who trains. Instead of, I want to start a podcast, I'm a podcaster. Instead of, I want to be more confident, I'm someone who does difficult things. Your identity is reinforced by your habits. Every action is essentially evidence for the person that you believe you are. So instead of saying, I want to start a podcast, go and film a podcast, post it. You're then a podcaster. Actually go out there and do it, because there's so many people that are scared to do something that they want to do in the fear of what other people may think or say. And that's just not a way to live, because you're not living an authentic version of your life. If you want to go and do a podcast, then go and do it. Life's too short not to do the things that you want to do purely because of the thoughts of others. So ask yourself, what are your daily actions telling you about who you are? Not what you say you are, what your behavior says. Are your daily actions backing up who you say you are? Because I can sit here and say, I'm a podcaster. I podcast and post a new episode every week, pretty much for the last 18 months to 2 years straight. There's been a couple of times where I've missed it because I've been really busy, but that just goes back to what I said earlier. Discipline isn't about hitting 100% all the time. It's about staying consistent, and consistency isn't 100% accuracy. It's when you do fall off, you get straight back on the horse. It's not about throwing your toys out the pram and starting again on Monday. The uncomfortable question that you've got to ask yourself is, what do you actually want? Because sometimes we say, I want to lose the weight, but we don't actually want to lose the weight badly enough to consistently change our lifestyle. We fall back into old habits. The pain isn't painful enough to make you want to change. There's a great sort of theory that Chris Williamson speaks about, which is the region beta paradox, which is essentially around comfort. So you're in, say, a relationship or a job, or you're overweight, but you're not in a bad enough position to actually galvanize you to make a change. You'd be better off being in a worse position. So the theory is actually, if you were to travel less than a mile, you would walk. If you were to go further than a mile, then you'd drive. You are going to get there quicker if you're going further than a mile, because you're going to drive there. You'd be in a better place if you were in a worse position, because it would actually galvanize you to make a change. You know, if you're in a job that it's not that great, but it's also not that bad, it pays the bills, your manager's not the nicest, but you can deal with it. Or you're in that relationship where you argue sometimes, you get on sometimes, you'd probably be in a better position if you had a worse relationship, because it would galvanize you to get out of that relationship. It's the same with being overweight. You're a little bit overweight, you get out of breath going up the stairs, but you can get by. Like if the lads say you want to play five-a-side, you can do it for an hour. It's not the most fun because, again, you're not that fit, but you would be in a better place if you were actually even more overweight, because it would then force you to get yourself into better shape. And it goes the exact same with like people that say, I want to be successful, but They don't want to work the hours. The brutal version of this is your actions are probably a better representation of your priorities than your words are. Actions speak louder than words. There's a reason why that is a saying. If something is repeatedly described as a priority but never acted upon, your actions are revealing your real motivations. If you are sitting there right now and you think, oh, I'm a little bit overweight, but you're doing nothing about it, you're just complaining and saying that you're going to do something like, oh, I need to get in shape, I'll start on Monday, but you never do when Monday comes around. Your actions are speaking louder than your words. It doesn't mean that you're necessarily lazy. It just might mean that you actually don't want it, or you don't want it enough. Maybe you're scared, you're prioritizing something else, or you've built an environment that makes the behavior incredibly difficult. It makes that change too hard because you're so stuck in your ways. And this is why environment beats willpower. We love telling people you just need more discipline, but that's not always true. If you've got snacks everywhere, your phone beside you, no routine, no plan, no gym booked, no food prepared, no accountability, you're asking willpower to fight everything around you, which is why whenever I'm going into like a dieting phase, I will get rid of pretty much anything that is going to take me off my diet. So all of the bad snacks that I would usually enjoy, I reduce them. I don't completely cut them out because that's when cravings come in and that's when you end up binging. I'm pretty good personally about not doing that in terms of binging, because once I'm focused on something, I will just stick to it. The easiest thing to do when you are looking to go into a fat loss phase is to simply not buy the high calorie snacks. Maybe replace them with something that's a little bit more calorie friendly, but still sort of gives you that satisfaction that the bad food gives you. The thing is, you've just got to make anything that you want to do as easy as possible to achieve. And obviously I keep coming to the fat loss because I have the background with the fitness, but it could be a goal in the gym. It doesn't necessarily have to be fat loss. Like recently I was working towards an indoor bike competition. It could be a high rocks. It could be anything that you want to go and achieve. Make it as easy as possible for you to achieve it. So say if you want to start running in the morning, first thing that you could do is the night before, put your running stuff out so that as soon as you wake up, it's right there. You put it on. You've got your drink already ready downstairs and you're ready to go. Just go do it. It could be that you want to get into the gym going after work. Take your gym stuff to work with you and then drive straight there. By doing that, you essentially cut down on the friction. If you've got to come home from work and then go back out to the gym, it's quite easy to then just sit on the couch, maybe watch some TV, get distracted. Kids might be knocking about. It could be anything that takes your mind off the thing that you actually need to go and do. So cut the friction out. Essentially, disciplined people often aren't exercising extraordinary self-control. They've just designed their environment so that they need less of it. A good question to ask yourself is, are you actually lacking discipline, or have you just built a life that makes discipline unnecessarily difficult? The great thing is the future you doesn't even exist yet, but we constantly keep making promises to future me. Future me will lose weight. Future me will save money. We'll sort the house. We'll start the business. We'll get fit. We'll stop drinking. We'll finally get organized. But tomorrow's version is still you. You're basically outsourcing your problem to a fictional person. Future you is just today's you with another 24 hours on the clock. What are you doing today that tomorrow's version of you is going to thank you for? And I say this to myself quite a lot. What will George tomorrow thank George today for? And I do this every time I go into the office for work because it's always an earlier start because I've got to travel. So what I do the night before is I put my breakfast out on the side. I put my coffee out with the coffee granules. I get it all set up. So basically, as soon as I come downstairs, it's all there ready to make. I prep all my meals for the night before, for my lunch and things like that. It just cuts the friction out. The more friction we have, the more difficult it becomes. Make your life as frictionless as possible. Something that can often get confused is discipline and obsession. And there is a difference between the two. Discipline is doing what matters, being consistent, keeping promises to yourself. Whereas obsession is never allowing yourself to have a break, feeling guilty about rest, thinking you're worthless if you miss a workout, constantly chasing the next goal, never being satisfied. You can be disciplined without making your entire life about productivity. And this is something that I am often guilty for. I hate doing nothing. It's not necessarily because I'm just obsessed. It's because I always feel like I need to be doing something. Whenever I go on holiday, I never really give myself an opportunity to rest. I always feel like I need to be doing something because in my head, I'm thinking, I've paid to be here. Why would I just sit around a pool and do nothing? Which is probably not a great thing because sometimes I really do need the rest. And quite often I will come home from holiday more tired than I went because I have this mindset of if I never come back here, I want to know that I've done everything that I wanted to do whilst I was here. So basically, I jam pack as much as I can into the time that I'm in a certain place to try and tick off as many things so I don't have the feeling of I need to come back here or I wish I'd gone here or done this. Another question to ask yourself is, can you be disciplined enough to know when to stop? That is key. And it kind of goes back to what I was saying before about the mental tiredness and physical tiredness. You only really can gauge your limits on either by pushing too hard the wrong way. Discipline is actually freedom at the end of the day. At first glance, it sounds very restrictive, but if you actually think about it, training gives you more physical freedom, more energy and ability to actually go and do things that you want to do. It could be as simple as being able to go outside and play with your kids without getting out of breath. It could be going to do a high rocks, a half marathon, anything like that. It gives you the actual physical freedom and capability to go and be able to do it. Saving money gives you financial freedom. Looking after your health gives you more freedom later. How often do you see older people being really frail and not being able to do things? It happens all the time because obviously in those generations, health and fitness wasn't necessarily taken as seriously as it is now. I think in my generation, in 50 years' time, you will see a lot more fitter and healthier individuals that don't need maybe as much care as current generations need to. Keeping promises to yourself gives you freedom from guilt. Building confidence through doing difficult things gives you freedom from fear. I said it on a previous podcast. The purpose of life is to be defeated by greater and greater things. That's a quote from Rainer Maria Rilke. And the whole premise of this is the more you push yourself out of your comfort zone, the bigger that comfort zone becomes. The bigger that comfort zone becomes, the greater the thing has to be to actually be able to defeat you. So if we're constantly pushing the boundaries of that comfort zone, the greater and greater the task or thing has to be to actually stop you from doing it, essentially. If you think about it, the bigger that comfort zone becomes, the more personal development we've had, the more self-improvement has happened along that journey. Discipline doesn't take away from your freedom. It creates more of it. I think that is a really powerful thing. I think a lot of people see discipline as this sort of almost military action that I can't do this, I have to do this. And it's very restrictive where it's really not. If you can be even a little bit more disciplined than you are now, it will open your life up to incredible opportunities, whether it is your health and fitness, whether it is starting a business. If you can be disciplined for a short period of time, it will generally carry on into other areas of your life. And you will start seeing the benefits of it, and that motivation will stick around for a little bit longer because you see the results as you go. These days, it's really not that difficult to be somewhat successful in whatever it is that you want to do. There are so many lazy, sort of average, everyday people, and it's not bad if you want to be one of those people. But if you are the sort of person that's like, I want to lose weight, or I want to start a podcast, or I want to do this, that, and the other, then it's not actually that difficult for you to achieve whatever it is that you want to achieve within reason, of course. I was always brought up on the saying that when I grow up, I will be average just purely because of, a little bit of natural ability, the way I was brought up, and essentially because of the people around me are just lazy. If you want to go and achieve something, it's not that difficult with a bit of hard work. Everyone wants instant results. And because they get so caught up on the instant results and then them not coming, quite a lot of people just give up. If you want something, go out there, go do it. Life's too short for what ifs. Don't be on your deathbed with regrets, asking yourself, why didn't I try and do X, Y, Z? So I'm just going to leave you with a couple of quotes from James Clear. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. And every action you take is a vote for the type of person that you wish to become. Remember that and ask yourself, am I someone who talks about doing something, or am I someone that goes and does it? And one question that I just want to leave you with is ask yourself who you are, what you want to be, and whether you're someone that says what you're going to do or whether you actually go out there and do it. If you found this one useful, please send it on to someone else who needs to hear it. If you've enjoyed this one, drop it a like. And if you're new, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.